Hello everyone, it's Shannon here for Pink Fresh Studio. In today's video, we are going to create this shaker card using the Arch Backdrop foil plate. I'll also create this ombre rainbow, which we watercolor over that foiled background. I'm going to start with my hot foiling. First, the Arch Backdrop foil plate, and I'll also be using the fancy script words hot foils as well. I'm using the one that says "You are the best." I have a piece of Bristol paper here. That's what I'll be foiling on top of. It's Bristol vellum paper. My platform is ready, so I went ahead and added my hot foil plates, turned the timer on. Now that the timer has gone off, I'm ready to remove the platform or detach it from the base, place down my foil, shiny side down, then my Bristol paper, then I'll place down the plate, and then lastly the shim. Now I'll run that through my die cutting machine. I'm using the Spellbinders Platinum. I'll remove everything here and pull off the foil. Keep that foil, I'm going to be using that later, and we have a perfectly foiled panel. Now we're going to be doing the solid foil plate here. So my platform is ready. I placed it down, hit the timer. Now the timer has gone off, so I'll detach the platform, place down my foil, shiny side down again, center it over that foil plate, then grab a piece of plain white cardstock, then the plate, then my shim, and then a paper shim that is 110-pound white cardstock. That paper shim I find helps to really get a good impression when you're using the solid plate. And here you can see my foiled panel. It looks great. I'll just remove the excess foil here, and you can see it foiled perfectly. Beautiful, beautiful shine. Okay, so now we're going to trim down these panels to an A2 panel. I have a clear acetate grid here. That's the dimensions of an A2 panel, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Once I get it centered, I then trace around the panel, and then I trimmed it with my paper trimmer. I did that for both of my panels, and now I'm ready to take that Arch Backdrop die and die cut out the center. I'm going to keep those centers as well because I'm going to die cut my sentiment from those. I'll use the coordinating fancy script word dies to die cut those two sentiments out, and then I'll put those aside and I'll use those later. Now we're ready to move on to watercoloring our arch. I have several Tombow dual brush pens here. I'm going to start by coloring with the pen, well, really kind of a marker, directly onto paper, about a little bit over halfway up the arch. Then I'll move on to a paintbrush, which I'll get just slightly damp, and then take that damp brush and go over where I colored with that marker, and that will activate that ink, and then I'll just kind of spread that ink over the rest of the arch to kind of fill it in. And that process will just kind of naturally kind of create an ombre look, but if it gets too light, you can always go back to the area with the ink and kind of pick up a little bit more ink and spread it a little bit more a little bit further along to just kind of fill in more of that archway. We're now moving on to a red, and again, I'm going to color up the archway. If you do get any of this ink on your gold, I'll show you how to clean that up later. The only thing you want to be careful of is just getting the color kind of outside to the white areas, that little white center arch. That's the only place that it's a little bit trickier to pick it up. But if you get any of your color even in another stripe of the rainbow, it's pretty easy to pick up or just kind of cover up with your other color, or even some color on to the gold. That's pretty easy to clean up too. So this is actually a pretty easy watercoloring. I'm going to start, or I went through the orange, now I'm going through the yellow, and these lighter colors go really quick and easy. It's just easier to kind of spread the colors and get an even or a more gradual gradation with them. And now on to kind of a light, almost limey kind of green. Actually, it's probably more minty kind of green. And then then I move on to a really pretty blue-green color. And as you can see here, my stripes are getting smaller and smaller, or my arches are getting smaller and smaller, so the coloring and watercoloring part seems to go faster and faster. Once I finish with this kind of aqua color, I'll move on to a true kind of blue color, really pretty sky blue, and color that arch. And then we only have one more arch to go, or one more color I should say to go, which is this purple. I'll color in this last little bit of an arch with that purple, and then I'll finish up here by repeating with the pink, and then the red, and then of course blending it out with my damp brush to get that pretty ombre kind of look. And that'll actually complete the watercoloring of my rainbow. Now to clean up, I have a dry microfiber towel. If I just gently kind of wipe over my panel, now you got to make sure your panel is dry, that'll pick up any of that ink that might have gotten on the gold foiled areas. Now we're going to move on to creating kind of a background. I do have an A2 top folding white card base, but you only need an A2 panel for this. And I'm simply going to make a cloudy sky with this cloud builder stencil and ink blending over it, or at least along the edge of it, with the sky blue ink. I just worked my way up to the top here, and now I'm going to take some of that sky blue ink and ink blend more heavily at the bottom of the panel. I want to also kind of create a little ombre look over here on the sky. After I did a little bit of that ink blending at the bottom, I felt like I lost some of the definition on the cloud tops of my lower cloud, so I just repositioned that cloud builder stencil and then just kind of enhanced that line again. And that actually completes my background. I'm going to actually trim this down. You can see again, I trimmed it, or I didn't turn it down, I trimmed it in half, so I just had the panel. I realized here I didn't want the card base, I just want the panel. And then I grabbed an A2 panel of acetate, and I'm going to now score on that acetate, just kind of getting my bearings here of how much acetate I have to work with. And I'm actually going to score on this acetate at 5 inches, and then I'll score at 4 7/8. So that will create a little 1/8 gap between those two score lines, and that's just the perfect thickness for our foam adhesive and allow those shaker contents to kind of move around inside. Now I'm just reinforcing those folds, first just kind of folding it, pressing with my fingers, and then to kind of encourage it, and then I'll use my actual score tool to really press it down. And you can see here we got that really nice little 1/8 kind of gap there, or fold, that will work perfectly for our shaker card. So now I'm going to flip over my rainbow panel, add some liquid adhesive to it, and then stick it or glue it directly on to our scored acetate panel. Just hold it there till the glue sets up a little bit, and now we're going to move on to adding some foam adhesive. This is going to add dimension, but also kind of create the boundaries or the well for these shaker elements to kind of stay within, so they don't go everywhere. So after I've added the foam adhesive around the edges of the arch, I'll then stick down my my ink blended cloud sky panel. Just stick it down here, making sure to keep the opening, that extra tab of acetate open and free, so I can kind of tuck in here my shaker sequins and confetti. So I just filled that in, popped that in, and basically we're ready to add this to the card front. And by adding it to the card front, that will really seal down, or that's where I'll seal down that extra tab. So here I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive to that tab to kind of seal it to the back of that cloud panel, and then I'll add some more adhesive to the back of that cloud panel so I can actually adhere it on to the card front, which is just an A2 top folding white card base. Now ready to finish up with our sentiment. I'm going to take those two sentiments and actually stack them, but just do it a little bit askew, and that will create a really kind of cool like backdrop gold shadow. And then I will add some foam adhesive to the back side of that so it has some dimension. So I'm just going to cut some small strips of foam adhesive, remove the backing, and then just finish the card by placing it right on the front of my card. And I'll hold my card up to the camera so you can get a good look at all the details in this card. This is such a vibrant and happy rainbow card. The shaker element is super fun, and it's really kind of a little bit of a surprise since it's open at the bottom, so it will leave people wondering, how did you do that? I hope you guys enjoyed today's card and video. If you have any questions about the products I use, please check out the links below in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.